When it comes to putting on your pistons and cylinders, the first thing we want to do is unbox. So normally, the way a piston and cylinder is boxed, you're going to have a wrist pin. You're going to have circlips. Now, depending on the brand that you're buying, all the circlips may not be with each piston. They may be spread out. There may be one packet, or there may be two packets that do all pistons. Then the next thing you want to do, you can see on a cylinder how it's got a lot of grease on it. This is the packing grease that comes from the manufacturer. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to take our piston, and I just want to push it carefully out the top. Okay, so sometimes the piston doesn't come out. I'm just going to use my plastic hammer. I'm just going to gently tap it. So we want to get the piston all the way out. We can't guarantee that when the pistons were put in that the rings were spaced correctly or everything was clean. We also want to go ahead and run all of our barrels through the parts washer, and we just want to manually wash all those. We want to get basically all of this assembly or this rust proofing that's been put on the barrels off. So now I've got my barrel washed up. I've gone ahead and I've taken off the piston rings carefully. Now, depending on what barrel and piston combination you are using, if you are using something that is factory, so i.e. Marley or Marley Motorsports, you can or cannot, it's up to you if you want to go ahead and check your ring end clearances. I know every time I have checked a brand new cylinder from Marley, they have always been exactly on the minimum or very close to the minimum limits. This particular one is an aftermarket barrel with a JE piston using JE rings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check and see where my ring gaps are. So what our ring gap is when the piston ring is installed, this will close up. If the piston ring is too tight and it is completely touching, what's going to happen is it's going to cause excessive wear into the barrel. This ring needs to have a small gap so the ring can flex slightly as it moves up and down with the piston. So to check our ring gap, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ring and I'm just going to push it in and then roll it over. Now, the important part about doing this is making sure that the piston ring is the same distance down on the cylinder bore all the way around. If we have it down to where we have on an angle like so, what it's going to do is cause an incorrect measurement of our ring gap. Now, normally, if I had a piston with a flat dome or a nice flat edge, all I would do is I would take my piston, put it in the barrel upside down, push it down till the top ring land is level with the piston, with the barrel, and that would be my measuring height. Problem is, with this piston, we have valve pocket reliefs. We also have this large taper. So all I'm going to do is take my depth gauge and I'm just going to set it at a depth. Doesn't matter what that depth is. I've just opened up and I'm 6 millimeters, 6.12 millimeters. All I'm going to do is take my depth gauge, move it around, and make sure that my ring is at the same height all the way around. Okay. Now that we've got our rings set, I'm going to take my feeler gauges. And the specification on these ring gaps are from 0.15 to 0.45 of a millimeter. Now, the larger this cylinder, that gap will change. This is going to be an accurate spec for the 2 liter, 2.2, 2.4, and 2.7. If you're working on anything larger than that, you need to look at the shop manual and see what the spec is for that piston. So normally what I'll do is I'll start with the smallest feeler gauge. So I'm going to start with a 0.15, and I'm just going to push it in and feel it, and I can feel there's no contact. So I'm just going to work my way up through my range until I find the correct clearance, or the clearance of this ring. So we're going to go to 0.20. Still loose. 0.25 slides in easily. Okay, 0.3, I'm starting to get a drag. And we're just going to go to 0.35. Yeah, 0.35 I have to force it in. So the ring clearance on this one is going to be approximately 0.325, somewhere in that range. 0.30 is a little on the loose side, but 0.35 is definitely on the tight side. So well and truly in our usable range. I'm going to go ahead and check the clearances on the rest of the rings in the same manner, and then we can go ahead and assemble the rings back onto the piston. So in this case, the ring fit with no issues. So let's say we have a problem where our ring gap is too large. The only way to solve a ring gap that is too large is to put a new ring in it. There is nothing you can do to save that ring or reuse it. I would, however, go back and recheck my bore size and recheck my pistons, make sure you have ordered the correct items, and then also call the supplier and make sure they supplied the right rings with the set. Now, if we had measured our piston ring and our clearance was too tight, that is something that we could deal with here. So if the ring was too tight, what we would do is we would take our ring out and we would use a piston ring grinder. Now this one is a powered piston ring grinder, and the way that it works is I would go ahead and I would set my ring up so everything is nice and parallel. I would tighten down the little clamp, and this one has a little vernier adjustment on the wheel, and then I would power it up. I'm not going to cut this ring because it's in spec, and I would simply move the ring back and forth, which would allow the grinding disc to grind the ring gaps. And you'd have to do that for all the ring gaps that were too tight. Now, you don't have to use a power one. You can use, there's a manual one which has a little manual crank handle. What you have to be careful, I wouldn't recommend trying to do it with a file or a die grinder or a Dremel tool. These edges need to remain parallel. So on this tool, you can see that you can adjust this little cam right here so you get the right angle. You can bring it up and contact it right on this face, making sure everything is square so when you grind the ring, everything stays parallel to each other. So once I've finished with measuring my rings, the next thing is to put the rings back onto the piston. So I'm going to start with the oil ring. This particular design from JE has a 3-piece oil ring. That means you have two rings and an expander. This expander acts as a pump. So as the piston goes up and down in the bore, it will pump the oil back through these holes in the piston and allow it to drop back and into the sump. When we assemble these, the most important thing with this style of ring is to make sure that it doesn't cross over like that when we install it. So I'm going to start with the oil control ring. I'm going to put in our pump section, and all I'm doing, you see how I line it up with that pin? I'm just going to put my thumb there and I'm going to gently expand it all the way around. Now, a lot of the times these style of rings will often have a paint dot to help you identify to make sure you don't overlap. These ones won't physically allow it, however it is something to be aware of. When I do my rings, I'm going to do the bottom ring first. So on this particular ring, the oil rings generally do not have a direction. But if we look at the cross section, you can see that it is fairly straight and square on both edges. Now, what I want to do is I don't want to put my ring gap anywhere near this gap. So if I have the gap on the expander on one side of the wrist pin, if I roll the engine over and I take my oil ring, I want to start on the bottom, and I am just going to carefully wind that oil scraper all the way onto the piston. Like so. So we want to see it where that gap on that ring is nice and plumb. The ring should move freely, and our bottom scraper is all the way inside the piston ringland. It should move freely. Now, when it comes to the next oil scraper ring, we want to make sure that our ring gap, which is right here, is not directly in line with the ring that we just put it on. We also don't want it directly above our gap over here. So what I'm going to do is typically I will line up those gaps with these machine marks on the piston. So I'm just going to take our top oil ring and carefully wind that in. So now we've got our two gaps. One is here and one is here. Our expander gap is right here, and the ring is moving freely on the piston. The next two rings are our compression rings, and now I've kept these rings in order when I've taken them off the piston. But if you have mixed them up, there's usually an easy way to tell. So if we pick up our second ring, now depending on the ring set that you are using and whether or not it's a factory ring, there is a lot of different design changes. On this particular ring, if we look at the profile of the ring, we can see that there is a step down right here around the ring. Now this style of ring is almost always used as a second ring. The next thing is there's no markings on this piston ring. There's none that say top. There is a small dot here that is usually considered an up marking, or sometimes they'll actually have laser engraved with top. If they do not, as a rule of thumb, this lip on the second ring should always face down on the piston. Now when I install these, you can use a piston ring installer, which is just an expander, or these are easy enough and small enough I can just use my thumbs. For the time being, it doesn't matter where our ring gap is, we'll adjust that when we get it over onto the engine. So to install it, I'm going to sit it on top of the piston, and I'm just going to carefully expand it and slide it down into the second ringland. Now you don't want to over expand the ring, which means you don't want to squeeze it all the way out here, because most likely it is going to snap. These are somewhat brittle in the fact that they're cast iron. Lastly is our top ring. Now on our top ring design, if you can see that, it is a fairly square designed ring, and this is fairly normal across the range with Porsche. It doesn't usually matter which way these rings are installed when they're perfectly parallel and square to each other, but it's good practice just to look at them and see if there's any markings that indicate a top design on them. This one does not, so we're just going to go ahead and install the top ring. Now once the rings are on, we want to make sure that they rotate freely. There's nothing binding, there's no restrictions to the piston ring, and that everything moves freely.